In my last video, I talked about throwing it all away. In this video, I'm going to unpack what it was really like when I lost everything. I lost my will to live until I found that one person that I never thought I would. Right around when I turned 50, I was in a deep depression. I lost my vehicle, which was my means of income. So the bills weren't getting paid. The rent wasn't getting paid. I was avoiding my landlord until one day he showed up at the door with the sheriff deputy and an eviction notice. It was the lowest point of my life. Outside of my addiction and prison, this was the worst thing I'd ever been through. Because I'd given up. I'd given up the fight. I'd decided my life wasn't worth fighting for. After the eviction, my son let me use his RV and a vehicle, so we stayed at the lake. But I was supposed to be making payments on the RV and the vehicle while I had it to take the stress off of him. Well, instead of doing the DoorDash, which was going to pay the bills, I was chasing get-rich-quick schemes and running in circles, doing nothing. So at one point, my son had to make the hard decision and take the RV and the vehicle back. That left me homeless at the lake. No home, no plan, and no real drive to change. Just me, my dog, and a complete absence of a will to live. But there's more to the story. Right before all this happened, the doctor had told me that I had colon cancer. They gave me one option at the time: radiation and chemo. I said no. In my mind, those treatments sounded worse than the life I was living. And it was pretty bad. A couple weeks later, my doctor suggested immunotherapy. Keytruda was just approved for colon cancer. So I decided to do that, but I wasn't consistent with the treatments. Mentally, I had decided to not fight the cancer. Not because I was brave or confident, but because I just checked out. For months, I really didn't do anything. I was living in what I'd later understand just a muted version of myself. Going through the motions, running in circles, pretending like I was going to get myself out of this situation, when really, I'd just given up. That's when I found a person I thought was long gone. One day, I was walking around the lake. I don't know what it was. There was no lightning bolt or dramatic moment I can point to. Something just clicked. I had found the real me again. I'd found the one person who can get me out of this mess. For the first time in a really, really long time, I reached out for help. I'd contacted a church to see if they could help me get some housing. They ended up getting me a motel room for 2 days. On the day I was supposed to check out, I decided I was going to take the few dollars I had and go grab some breakfast and coffee. While I was in there, I noticed that they were hiring for a cook. I talked to the owner, and she said that she would be willing to give me a room, give me a job, and we would make some kind of trade, and she'd give me a little bit of a paycheck on top of that. That quick turnaround from sleeping in the lake pavilion to having a room and a job in just a day or two, it was like a sign. Not a religious sign, just a sign that there was still more to my story, that I hadn't finished this chapter in my life yet. That's when I really found my will to fight. I started taking the treatment seriously. For the first time in months, I was showing up. I was doing it. I had a reason to live now, and I'm cancer-free today. Over the past year or so, I haven't thought about that part of my life much. It's more like a dream or a nightmare. But looking back now, that lake wasn't where my story ended. It's where it actually began. That was the actual start to my reset. I just didn't know it at the time. Even though I had found the will to live and I'd gotten back up on my feet, I hadn't started working on the real issues yet. The biggest thing I learned is I wasn't homeless because I lost everything. I was homeless because I was living a muted version of my life for years before any of that happened. The depression, the get-rich-quick schemes, the living my life in circles. All of that was me not being myself. That was me living small. The homelessness was just the physical result of living a life I'd already checked out of. What changed wasn't me getting in a motel room. What changed was that I finally stopped hiding from who I really am and started asking for help instead of pretending I was fine. 3 years later, I'm 54 and broke, but I'm grateful. Not because being broke is great, it's definitely not, but because I'm no longer pretending. I'm no longer living the muted version of myself. I know that my perception of broke is somebody else's hope, and I'm grateful for meeting the real me on that walk at the lake. I started this channel not to inspire anyone. I started this channel to do the real work, to hold myself accountable, to put it out there, to help anybody else that's going through the same situation. If you're watching this and you feel like you're stuck in your own muted version of your life, this is your reminder that it doesn't have to be permanent. You don't have to lose everything to find yourself. But if you do, that doesn't mean it's over. If any of this resonates with you, hit subscribe. Follow this journey. Let's do this together. And if you're new here, check out the Start Here playlist with my first 2 videos, where I talk about throwing it all away and unpacking 50 years of baggage. This is day 3, and I'm glad you're here.